What's up, you beautiful people? Welcome to another video. Okay, so yesterday we were on a coaching call with one of my clients, and he pushed back pretty hard on a suggestion that I made about a particular type of content I wanted him to create. I had to go pretty deep into the well on this one to give him some context and to give him some tough love to get him to come around on this particular type of content that we wanted him to make. And I think it'll serve you guys as an agent out here. We're just kind of debriefing that conversation. I'm not going to show you the coaching call itself, but we talk around what exactly occurred. And I think this is one of those messages that can really positively impact your content creation efforts. So make sure that you stay around till the very end. It's kind of a random one. We wander through a lot of space, but I think you're going to enjoy this one. So let me know down in the comments if this is one that you got a lot of value from. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video. Everybody needs to hear that one, because where he's operating from is the default position that most entrepreneurs and creators are creating content from, which is, he even said it himself, I want to be a leader. And to lead, I need to have, go through it. I need to know it. I need to go through it, and then I can show. So I need to know, go, show. And so all this content that he wants to create is always from that perspective of, I need to know it, I need to have done it, and I need to then show it. And the truth is that the content that is the most powerful is not always positioning yourself as the person who knows or has gone and then can show. Because that presumes, if you know, go, show, that you've found the answer, you've solved the problem, and you're coming back down the mountain. And that's fine. I used to fall into this, but I went to this event many years ago with Renee Rodriguez, and I've told this story all the time, where it was just a small event with 11 people. The goal is to learn how to speak from the heart, connect with an audience, whether that's 10 people or 1,000 people. And I got up there, gave my speech, and then Renee asked the audience, hey, raise your hand if you feel connected with Anthony right now. And nobody raised their hand. And it was really painful. And after some digging, what came out was this idea, Renee said, which is that you're not being truly vulnerable up there. You think you are. You think by sharing your failures, you're connecting with us, but you're not, because you're simply using those failures as a way of showing us how badass you are, all these crazy things that you've overcome, so that you can then position yourself as the guru on the mountain coming down and saying, look at me, I have all the answers, right? Because you're afraid to be truly vulnerable. And what he said was, your selective vulnerability is not true vulnerability. And I thought about that a lot. And it's no coincidence that very shortly after that conversation, all of my content on all platforms started to blow up. Because I started going into it, not sharing stories specifically with the goal of saying, look how I figured it out, here's where I am now. I do that a lot, but not always. There's plenty of content where it's I don't have the answer. I'm going through this right now. Here's what I'm struggling with. Here's what I'm trying. Here's what I know has worked in the past, right? And so people can connect and see, okay, this is a person that doesn't have it all figured out. And so I think the struggle then for a lot of people is that they are still, as they're trying to use content and social media as a means for growing their businesses, that's the thing that they think they have to present themselves as being the one that has an answer and position themselves as a leader. Yeah. And so with this client, let's just call him Lewis. We'll call him Lewis for the sake of protecting the innocent. But it's he knew that you remember he kept pushing back. Yeah. He's I have no problem with sharing this stuff and being vulnerable. He's that doesn't bother me. But and the but is the great negator. I have no problem being vulnerable. That's not the problem. But and it's no, you do, because in the context of this, he's struggling with his faith. He's struggling with this big thing that has been a pillar part of his life. And so now he doesn't want to talk about it. He wants to talk about it when the times are good and when he feels the faith, when he feels strong in the content. But when he's going through rough times, when things aren't going exactly how he'd like, and he doesn't have that connection with his creator in the way that he'd like to, he feels like a fraud talking about it. So then he's let's just not talk about it. And then our push is, no, that's exactly what you need to talk about. Talk about the fact that you don't have it figured out. That you're going through this thing right now. And it's so interesting because if you remember, his default was, well, I would never watch that. He's I don't want to just lay my baggage on people if I don't have a solution to give them. So that's the know it, go through it, and then show it. He's I always want to be able to show people how they can get something out of this. And he's like, because I wouldn't consume anybody's content that was just like them dumping their baggage on me. And I was like, that's not true. It's fundamentally not true, right? You remember the example was Ed Milet. I was like, okay, so who is a creator in the space right now that you look up to who has similar faith values that you do? He's like, Ed Milet. Cool. So if Ed Milet came out tomorrow with a video that said, listen, guys, I'm struggling with my faith right now. It's been such a pillar part of my life and a backbone of how I've gotten to where I am. It's transformed my life. It helped me get through this. It helped me get through this, get me through this, right? And truth is, right now I'm struggling. I'm struggling because this is happening, this has happened, and it's tested my faith. And I'll be honest, I'm having a hard time with that. I know it's powerful. I want to be connected, but for whatever reason, I'm having a hard time connecting with it. But I'm sharing this with you because I think that too many people only ever use their faith as an example of how great it's always going. And then that can give you the false impression that you should always feel that way. And then when you don't, you go into your shell, you feel even worse, you feel isolated. And so I'm sharing this with you to let you know you're not alone, that others are experiencing this. In fact, people that you look up to, people like me, if you're listening to my podcast right now, I'm going through this right now. And so maybe you can take some solace from that to know that you're not alone. Here's what I'm doing to move forward and try to get back to it. I'm getting connected with people. I'm not isolating myself. I'm going through the motions because, you have to stay in motion. Like sometimes you just got to keep doing the thing and connecting with what you know has worked in the past and just have faith that on a long enough time frame, you're going to get someplace and you're going to get a resolution. And I asked him, I was like, would you watch that content? And he's like, oh yeah, 100%, hands down. It's like, exactly. It would be like one of Ed's most watched videos of all time because we'd all watch it and go, I can resonate with that. And it's the same with entrepreneurship content. If all you ever show are the big wins and the victories, or just show the failures that ultimately led to the victory, then people aren't going to connect with you as deeply. Think about this. Why do you think Rocky, the movie series, was so successful? Do you know? I have a theory. I haven't watched it. I believe the reason Rocky as a series, not just as one movie, the whole thing, which is rare. I think the reason it was so successful is because do you know what happens at the end of Rocky 1? No. He loses. Oh. Rocky loses. Oh. Rocky loses in Rocky 1. He goes through the fight. He goes through everything. It's a battle to the end. He survives. And he leaves feeling that's a victory. But he loses the fight to Apollo Creed. Yeah. He loses. Yeah. And I think the reason why the rest of the Rockies are so powerful then is because he lost. Yeah. And so you go into each movie not knowing, does the hero win? So when Rocky's getting his ass kicked by the Russian, Drago, and in Rocky 3, you don't know, is he gonna win? And so you're like, fuck, he lost the first one. What's gonna happen here, right? And so in the same way, when you share your story, when you're in the midst of losing, it's a different story entirely because you don't know if you're gonna win. You don't know how it's going to turn out. It would be a very different thing if every Rocky movie started in the first 30 seconds, they show him raising his fist at the end of the movie with the belt over his shoulder. And then they're like, six months earlier. And then they started. It would be like the worst thing ever. And yet that's how most people approach their content and their stories. They're like, look at me now, I'm $100 million, and let me tell you the story of when I was 28 living in the back of a van with $80,000 of debt. I tell you that story, you know how it ends because you know where I am. Yeah. And so it connects for people, and they go, I've been there, and they can get involved in the story for that. But it hits very differently than if I share the story of like, oh, I filed for bankruptcy last year. I had a business, $100 million go to zero. I had a partner that had to sue, like all these things. Because it's like, oh shit, I haven't come out the other side of that yet. There is no victory lap yet. It's like, I'm just going through that. It sucks. Like, it is what it is, right? But they're two different types of stories. And one of those stories builds far more authenticity and connection and resonance with an audience and actually serves them. Because I think it's so much more powerful to see other people going through something that you can resonate in that moment and to see them continue to move forward regardless. Because for every big story, think about Alex Hormozy. Alex likes to tell the story about how he was living sleeping in the gym, right, underneath the train tracks, and it was hard and it was scary and all these things, right? Like, but imagine that he was creating content at that time, and he was sharing that story, but he was sharing it authentically through the lens of like, I don't know what I'm doing, right? It would be very different to see him now, right? And in a lot of ways, as we become more successful, we become less likely to share those things because we have more to lose from an image perspective. So you notice like Alex doesn't really share a lot of those. Like, what was the last big failure that he's had in the last year? Can you articulate? You probably don't have one. Yeah. We know that at the beginning of this year, if you paid really close attention to Alex, right, he went through a lot of litigation, a lot of lawsuits, a lot of random things. Does he really talk about them? Him and Alayla both were like, I'm going through one of the hardest seasons of my life right now, but just know, keep going through it, right? So he had some content like that. And I found it really helpful because that was the same time that I was going through shit with my business partner and all the bankruptcy stuff. And I was like, listen, Alex is going through it. He's not giving the details of it, but I know he's going through something right now. Cool. I can go through this too, right? In the same way, like that, but I wish that he would have spelled it out for people, right? Instead of just like, hey, I'm going through some shit, guys, right now. Keep going. You can do it. Like, actually fucking open the kimono and show people and be like, listen, like, here's what I'm going through right now. Yeah. And I wish more people would create content from that perspective because it's content I think the world needs, and I think it's content the world wants. It frees you from having to play the game of like winning status. It frees you from playing the hierarchical game because the reason we don't share our vulnerabilities is because we're afraid of judgment. Yeah. If you knew that in creating the content, sharing your vulnerability, all you would get is support, you would have no problem sharing it. Why does it make you vulnerable? Why don't we share the vulnerable stories? Because the thing that you're sharing can hurt you. Yeah. By definition. Yeah. When you share the story, this is why selective vulnerability isn't true vulnerability. If you're only sharing a story about a failure that's happened in the past that ultimately led to a victory, it can't hurt you. Nobody knowing that that I lived in a van with $80K of debt, my fiance dumped me and I was a loser. That story, nothing about it can hurt me anymore. Nothing. So it's not actual vulnerability. And all that's to say, like, if you want to create content for the sake of like building a business and making more money, maybe you don't need to worry about this stuff. Yeah. But if your goal is to like create content that like makes an impact and like actually affects people, their lives, then you do. This is the path forward.